You basically how your ground compares to other ground, and you have basically at that time the opportunity to express if you feel that we have something wrong. Additionally, if we got great questionable areas as to what water is doing, we will be trying to make contact with landowners, basically trying to find out, did you take tile some other direction here that we don't know about? And basically, if it ain't obvious in the field, we can't track it in the field, basically we'll be trying to make contact to find out what you did with tile. Okay?
Yep. So really what you need to do, all of the farmers need to do is once there's a reclassification notice, you should stop the auditor's office and look at how and what they've determined the flow to be on your land. And if you can't be at the hearing, write it out. But the better one is to come to the meeting so that you can point out a tile or whatever so that the supervisors will ultimately make the decision and hear you out.
I think on every request for a cleanout, it's resulted in a reclassification and annexation since I've been on the last 7 years, and the year before that, that big one on DD73 lateral 1. It's only with the tools we have available today to do physical measurements of elevations, and then the software to plug in the inherent values of the soil, the tile, and the benefits. It's the only fair way to do it. And you can see, like in all these, there's land that there's land well inside the district that should have been paying that hasn't been paying for years, and there's some, in this case, way outside. The new record keeping, I guess, is so much more modern than not foolproof.
Easier to deal with, at least from you.
It's the only way really to resolve all these issues.
There's also another consideration on top of that is when you do reclassification, you segregate it at several levels with the tile branches, open ditch responsibility, and I mean you have several different classifications then. Instead of the whole district paying for everything, like in this DD21 area, there would be a segregated lateral tile spot that's not going to be paying down here. I mean, it's more equitable. I know it costs money, but in the long run, in a situation like this, that is a pretty muddied up mess, really, quite frankly. At some point, you have to figure it out and get it back to equitable, in an equitable form, and that's really the only way you can do that.
We've had really good luck with. We haven't had very few people after everything's reclassified and everything's drawn out. We've had very few people come in and say, I don't think this is right. They haven't challenged it. It's not foolproof, but it's a lot better system than was used 80 years ago.
And then, like in this instance, and quite often it's the same way every time, it's something that really hasn't been looked at for 40, 50, 60 years. And you can see, especially in this, the annexation part of it, there's 12 parcels or more inside the district that weren't contributing towards the repair or any upkeep. And so at some point you have to straighten those out. And I know it costs money when you do it, but at some point you have to take care of it, and everyone needs to determine when that is.
One thing that you need to keep in mind, too, is the fact that the records in the county auditor's office in reference to those tile only reflect the county tile. We don't have records of your private tile, so if you have something that would contradict what the engineer's report shows on reclassification, you need to bring that up.
As an example, in discussions with Bud Vogt, who is, in the past was very active in drainage work and stuff, he has mapped the tile that traverses through his property that picks up water on the east side of the highway here that traverses across his ground and actually extends out into the ground to the west. truthfully, surface-wise out there, we would not expect that water to be going that direction. That tile system is, in a sense, kind of crossing flow path out there and stuff, and without us knowing that it's there, we would have probably drawn flow paths out there totally different. So, you know, anything we can get from you in regard to where you know you got tile system out there is very beneficial. A lot of that tile system's been out there since the early 1900s, and hopefully you know where it is. I know I don't.
That's another good reason to have, when you get your ground tile, to have the tile guy give you a map, so your grandkids know where grandpa put the tile. How big a tile, where it dumps. We're not looking for your tile to assess you because you made improvements. You can keep it private, but when it comes to reclassification, we do need to know those things and share it with us at that time. And Gene, just like I'm sure your dad put tile in when you were knee-high to a grasshopper that you only found if you were digging that ground. And how long and how wide and how deep until you hit it, you won't know it. So it's in your own best interest to keep decent tile maps. I mean, you go to the expense of putting in a private line, you ought to make the tile guy tell you, here's where it starts, here's the depth, here's where I'm dumping in, and if I went from an 8 to a 6 to a 4, where?
Before the NRCS became a regulatory agency through the Farm Bill program, they used to keep for you, if you brought in tile maps, they would stick them in your farm folders and stuff, and basically were a way of keeping record as to where tile had been done. However, after the 1985 Farm Bill, when they became regulatory-wise on wetlands, a lot of the district offices actually refused to maintain those tile because they didn't want to be responsible in that regard in the future. Plus, a lot of landowners didn't want to give them that tile information because if you're doing it after 1985, you might be in violation of basically the Farm Bill. So, end result is, anything you can give us, we appreciate. If we get it, we will definitely use it in consideration and equitably distributing benefit onto that in the reclassification. That kind of summarizes overall for you, basically, the report. Before I turn to official recommendations to the board for action today, open it up for questions. I do have to ask, was there any official written objections filed?
Nothing.
Okay. I guess I will also ask, reasonable attendance here, was the word spreading out there that there was basically a petition for clean out and that we were looking at doing a clean out of that facility?
I got my phone call from Vicky Shug, Saturday afternoon.
Not
They
till
hadn't
Saturday.
gotten theirs till
They got theirs
Wednesday,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
So
But-
that's, she lives in Minneapolis.
She contacted.
She said she was going to contact.
She did call me on Monday.
Okay.